Bill, I'm going to start with you for the first question is when you thought about, I mean, you've been doing this for 20 years. So 20 years ago, cyber was just like MX Logic and AV and like
Right.
Symantec or whatever, and maybe a firewall of some choice. Today, it's vastly different.
Absolutely.
So how did you lead your team through getting cybersecurity maturity at Network Builders?
So really, I mean, I guess it starts with education and trying to build a culture around cybersecurity and just education. Luckily, there's lots of news articles that we can point to and to then kind of dive into those and look at, well, how did it happen? Why did it happen? What could we have done if it to prevent it? If it was happening to us, it's just putting challenges out there to the staff on trying to learn more about cybersecurity, doing certifications or not necessarily maybe certifications, but just continuing education around cybersecurity. So, it's evolved obviously because it started off very immature, but now it's the core of the business.
And maybe just to peel one more question out of you, when you talk to other CEOs in your peer groups or just, do they see cyber the same way that you do? Are you alone in saying it really matters to us significantly? Are you seeing other CEOs that you're fellows with that also see it the same way?
Yeah, I think today it absolutely. I mean, if we're not doing like to me, there used to be MSSPs and there's a place for them today, but then there's MSPs and we have to be doing cybersecurity. We have to be doing part of that MSSP portion of it because no one else is going to do it for the customer. And if we don't, and the customer gets hit and they have an insurance policy, let's say, guess who they're coming after? They're coming after the MSP. So, I mean, we have to do it. I feel.
Yeah, you're right. I remember my early Perch days. We started working with a ton of MSPs, and I remember that some of the bigger MSSPs were starting to feel what they thought was a bit of the pain, and they started coming out with like MSPs can't do it. They're not dedicated for it. It's Fox guarding the hen house, all this kind of stuff. I'm like, wait, time out, guys. We can answer this with one question. What's a good target customer for you? And the MSSP would be like, oh, it's got to be like 1,000 employees and no less than a million per year. And I'm like, okay, great. Well, you just talked about the Fortune 1,000 and a little bit extra. The MSPs that we don't deal with, that is not their ICP. And so the question becomes, if not for the MSP, then who? Because there is no one else to secure the SMB market other than you. And so I think we have to say, we got to throw out the classic Fox guarding the hen house is a problem, full-time, SOC that is absent. We have to throw all that out and say, we're the only ones that are going to do it. So let's find a way to make it work.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Wayne, question now for you. In your role, and I'm not asking, I know Jennifer, your CEO, she's phenomenal, one of the best CEOs I know. So I'm not asking you to throw her under the bus, but I just want to know from your perspective as a VP of Ops, how do you get leadership to buy into cyber when you're like, look, I'm VP of Ops. This all kind of runs through me in some form or fashion, but how do I get the CEO, the board? How do I get other decision makers to really care about cyber the way I care about it?
I think with the CEO, her main concern is obviously to keep clients happy. And she looks upon the rest of the team to kind of give her the information that she needs to kind of what tools, what we need to do, what are the trends. And cybersecurity is the biggest thing right now, right? Like obviously, there's a lot of liability, there's a lot of accountability on the MSP. Everyone's buying cybersecurity insurance these days. So she looks upon the rest of the executives and the rest of the team to kind of provide her information. And we basically go to her and let her know, here are the things that we need to do in order to make sure our clients are secure and safe. What was it that we're just looking at recently here? The other vendor Roost. So Roost was a big one for us because there's a cost analysis of like, hey, our Gen CEOs like, well, we can't afford it. We can't buy Roost because we have all these other tools and there's tool bloat and stuff like that. You need to cut something before we can do that. The CTO and I got together and we basically built a cost analysis and said, well, this is how much time it's going to save. This is going to create a little bit more security around clients because we're not going to make human errors in the state when we do the automation and stuff like that. So through that, she was able to be convinced that, Roost is the right solution. And within the next couple of months, we'll probably be picking up Roost, for example.
Great. So you're welcome, Roost. That's awesome. So let me peel another thing out of you, Wayne, if I might. How do you like to speak to your CEO? What have you learned that gets the most resonance from her to get buy-in when you, whether it's cyber or anything else?
With Jen, I think it's accountability. Like she doesn't want any harm to the company, like the MSP or this networks, right? Like if a client were hit, what does that damage do to our name brand as well too, right? So she just doesn't want our company, our MSP, to wind up in the news or media. And I think that's what I tell her all the time. Like a lot of clients actually come to us and say, "Hey, I don't care what you guys do, what you guys buy, what you guys deploy. Just keep our name out of the media in terms of a threat." I learned not to say breach today. And yeah, just we'll buy whatever you guys want to sell us. Yeah, just we want to have uptime, and we don't want to be in the news.
Yeah, got it. And most of us would say that's gold standard to have a CEO that says, what I care about most is I understand the ramifications of a cyber incident, and therefore we have to do the right things to make sure that we're in a defensible position. And I love that D word, defensibility. I think that's a word we should start using more, because we've all said there's no such thing as 100% security. Anyone that says there is lying to you. So then the question is, are we doing the right things? Is it defensible? And then that brings up the question, what is defensible? Well, that's a great question. To me, defensible would be the minimum standards, right? I drive a car. It's got the airbags. It's got the lane departure. It's got a defensively, this is a good car from a safety perspective. Defensively, what does your cyber offering look like? So I love that. I think it's great. I want to shift a bit. Bill, one of the things you did I thought was pretty unique is as a CEO, you actually have your CISSP. Is that right?
I do, yes.
And I want you to tie in, first of all, why in the world did you, as the CEO of a really great and large MSP, decide to go get your CISSP? I think that's probably fairly rare.
Imposter syndrome, basically. You go out there and you have to sell it. And listen, I started off in this industry where you needed a heartbeat and interest. So I don't have the classic schooling, going to college for cyber, well, certainly not cybersecurity, but computer information science or anything like that. So, it's all, a lot of it's been self-taught over the years, and you go out there and you have to talk to people and feel like you know what you're talking about. So one way I in my head, I got around that was I went off and got my CISSP because I felt like I needed to, right? And that's why, because it's imposter syndrome. I'm sure we all feel it at certain times.
Talk to us more about imposter syndrome. I think we all have it if we can be honest with ourselves. We all say, I should not be doing this thing, should not be talking about this. I don't have the background. I don't have the credentials. I look at other people that are way smarter than me, and I'm not there. How have you gotten over imposter syndrome and found success through it?
Well, I don't know if I've ever gotten over it, but I certainly have dealt with it. You just you get more comfortable, right? You grow by being uncomfortable, so you just continue to put yourself out there, and each rep you get a little bit better. So, but I mean, certainly, I don't know. At least for me, I don't know if it'll ever go away completely. But just putting in the work and the reps, and continuing to stay up with it. I mean, we all know that cybersecurity is changing all the time. Every year, it seems like the insurance companies have a new checkbox on their form, and you got to just stay on top of that stuff and understand why they're asking for it and what it means to the end user and what it means to the MSP if you can't check that box for the customer and they get hit with ransomware.
Yeah, that's super good. So Wayne, I know when you and I were talking about this, you largely got dropped into this role without a formal background, right? You didn't go to you didn't go to, I don't know, the equivalent of Canadian NSA. I'm sure you have something like that, right? And you're not reverse engineering things from scratch. So what about you coming in from learning on the go? How did you get through all this? How did you learn through imposter syndrome? What would you share with others?
Where I came from was was infrastructure, networking. Like I built infrastructures. That was my background. I built a team. We did professional services. My CEO came to me one day. He was like 4 years ago. And was like, Wayne, you built a great team, but we're lacking cybersecurity. We need to build a department. And he came to me and said, I'd like you to leave that team that you're managing or built and build a new team for me. And I was like, I know cybersecurity, but I don't know cybersecurity. And I was kind of fearful of taking on a new role and building a new team that I knew nothing about. So I did it. The CEO asked me and I said I could do it and jumped into it. And I think the first thing that I was struck with was all the 3-letter acronyms. like going to trade shows and be like, we're going to things like this, and people just quoting out like 3-letter acronyms. It took me a while to start absorbing cyber by learning the acronyms that people were using, because if you didn't know the acronyms, you'd be lost. You'd just go over it. So that was the first challenge, learning the 3-letter acronyms and trying to figure that out. But once you got the lingo and what everyone was throwing out there, and it constantly changes. There's always new acronyms and you have to be on top of it. I was able to start pick things up. I started building out, I think at that time, we're like 4 or 5 years ago, we we're still doing web root. It was just AD. And we were one of the, in my area, we were one of the first MSPs. Be like, you know what? I think MDR is going to be the next big thing, and we need to start pushing. So what I did was I started looking at different vendors and started building a cybersecurity stack, running it through we didn't even have a CTO back then. We had a COO who is now our CTO. We worked together, we brainstormed, we put together different packages, and Martin was my CEO back then. We kind of ran through him and basically gave him all the pros and cons of different stacks and built something you get. And I think my CTO coined the phrase security burrito, but it's like a car, right? Like all the security layers, he called it security burrito. You need more and more layers to kind of have that complete burrito, right? And we put everything together. And at first we hired a company called vCentire. And they were a Fortune 500 cybersecurity platform. They didn't do MSPs. They didn't do SMB. We were one of the first MSPs to go work with them to build their platform with NSPs. That worked great for a couple years. And I started learning more and more. And we built a good package. It was through CrowdStrike at the time, through vCentire. They were a SOC. But what I did know when I started building things is that the size of our MSP, I didn't want to build a SOC. Like, we didn't want to invest in building our own SOC and do all the training. We knew that there are experts out there that could do it better than we could ever. So we decided to pay the experts, outsource it, and get the SOC business elsewhere. And then about the same time, or a year after, we got acquired by a TV, but we're still operating the same way.
Yeah.
So and over time, just like Bill was saying, you go through all the hurdles, you go through difficult, decisions to make when clients have issues and stuff, and you learn the cyber. And I always have the imposter syndrome. Like, I'm always feeling that when I go to these conferences, that everyone is like that much higher level of understanding, and I just have to learn from everyone. And the thing is that when you're within a group of people who are smarter than you just learn that much faster.
Right. It's better to be in a position like that where everyone around you is smarter than you. Yeah. I completely agree. So you said something very naturally at the very beginning that I want to pull out of both of you. You said, I was already leading a team successfully and just not in cyber, and they asked you to come move over. And I thought that was brilliant. I want to talk about that because both of you, how many employees are at Nucleus?
90 now.
So 90 and then
30.
Okay. So both of you have actual real legit teams. So my question for you is, how did you build a great team? When Wayne builds and leads a team, what does it look like? How do you do it?
I'm a leader that, sorry.
No, yeah, you got it.
I'm a leader that leads by example. Like, I think I'm the only VP that still does timesheets. And I do it because I get a lot of team members go, I don't have time. I'm doing this project. I don't have time to. I go, I'm busy too. And if I can do timesheets, you can do timesheets. And I just lead by example. Love that. Yeah, love that. Cool.
I'm going to say the same thing. It's leading by example. Never ask your employees to do something you're not willing to do. I mean, that's one of the other reasons why I went and got this the certification, because, I mean, even to this day, as a company, we'll pay for certifications, but getting staff to actually say, okay, I'll go do it is a challenge. I don't understand why at times, but yeah. So just leading by example and building a culture around cybersecurity and being open about talking about it.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to harp back on the book you mentioned, Robert, the Go Giver book. I think that actually there's a lot of that ethos of like good leaders are not ones that just bark from the back end, but they're the ones that are already going first and pulling you with them. And they're the ones that are actually going and giving back and investing in others. And I love to read up on military leaders. And one of my favorites is a guy named Hal Moore. He was the first person that saw action in the Vietnam War. And one of the things that he knew, they were testing the Huey helicopters for the first time. and they wanted to understand how is that going to work in warfare, and they just were unsure. And so the one thing he knew was we're going to be surrounded from the instant we land, we're going to be surrounded by enemy. And so one of the things he spent all his time doing was reading up on Custer, reading up on all of these military histories where you're surrounded on all sides by an enemy, and why did they fail? And one of the things that he learned out of that was he learned, you know what? All of these guys were barking commands without being in the middle and understanding what's happening tactically around them. And so he said, what I am not going to do is go drop my people off and then get out and then just listen from the radio and command. And so he made a promise to his people. He said, I can't promise you're all going to come back alive, but this I promise you, when we land, I will be the first off the helicopter, the first on the ground, the last person off. And to this day, when you interview the people that were in that battle, all of them said, the reason we fought so hard was because he was a leader that was right there with us. And he was not too good to do the things that we were doing. And I absolutely love that style of leadership. I think you both just expressed. I think that's great. So we're going to take a break before we go into external. What questions do y'all have for Wayne and Bill? Yeah, right here.
That's a good question. It's really, you just got to keep your finger on them. I mean, you can't disconnect. You got to, I mean, it's easier for us because we're only 30 people. For Wayne, it's 90. It's probably a much bigger task, but just, being in the trenches, continuing to have communication, checking in and seeing how things are going. It's not, you got to be engaged in all aspects of whatever's going on in the business, and being in those cooler talks, hearing what's happening. It's just keeping your ear to the ground, and sometimes it's going to slip through, right? Someone's going to be burnt out, but they're not going to say anything. And when that happens, you try to step in and make the situation better. But if you can head it off before it happens, that's the best way.
I think I still lead a team of professional services, and they work all around the clock, right? Like, clients don't want to be taken down during the day. So we're working evenings, we're working weekends, and some even ask us to work long weekends and stuff like that. So I think there's a compromise with clients when they ask us to do that. We have to let them know that, we have staff, that they have lives as well too. And we'll try our best to kind of accommodate those, and just empathy, basically understand where your staff are, like how much they can tolerate, see where they're breaking. You learn what their breaking points are, and then you try to avoid them, right? Like, because you don't want your staff burnt out, because if they do, they don't want to come to work. And then, they may be looking for another position somewhere else that's easier, for example. So, on my professional services side, the tenure on my team, I have 9, and they're all over 5 years or more, and up to 11 years now, some of them. It's the lowest, rotation of the entire company. Is the team that I manage. Basically, I'm able to manage them in a way where they stay happy. But it's tough because the demands of the client come first. We're a service company as an MSP. So if the client asks for something, so you just have to balance it out. Sometimes I'll jump in, and even though I don't have the time, I'll have to bail someone out. I'll go on site and do something just to kind of give that person a break.
It's good. Anyone else? Yeah. See, now we have questions. Thank you for breaking the ice. Yeah.
I won't ask people to do things that I won't do. My organization from the top down. And that's a big thing. If I'm asking somebody to work a weekend because we're doing an implementation, I'm willing to be around for that as much as it, there's got to be limits, but I'm in there. I've even taken backup sport roles and stuff like that when we were short a tier 2 or 3 guy overnights, for the backup. I'll do it. I'll take it. And, if you got a good organization, they run and say, no, we don't want that, or whatever. But if you're willing to do it, I think people will fight. To your point, the first off, last on, and that motivates people way above and beyond what you can do with money or anything else. And that's huge.
So Wade, how long have you been doing this?
I've been with this company for 15 years. I think I've been in IT for over 25. I was with another NSP for 11 years before this one.
Okay, this is kind of goes to my question is, obviously we heard the story this morning that was pretty incredible and whatnot. And so Bill, you've been doing this for 20 years. Like today,
I've been in the industry actually for almost 25 plus years. But
okay. So one of the questions is like, do you still know your why? And like, when you wake up every morning, like, what makes you today? Because well, obviously when you started, it was a paycheck. I knew technical stuff. I did that with all the new cybersecurity stuff and whatnot. And you think about it, when you wake up this morning, like, do you still know your why? And do you still enjoy going to work?
My why is why I run Network Builders. Absolutely. Yeah.
Share what it is.
My why is to build a great company and to make sure that all my employees have engaging jobs that they get paid well for and can have wonderful families. I mean, seeing someone buy their house for the first time or having a kid for the first time and know that Network Builders is helping fund all that is very rewarding. So it's I do it for my team. My team is my customers. My job is to make sure they have everything they need and they have the best thing they can to do it. And doesn't happen all the time, but that's my why. And to build a company.
That's awesome. I think if I were a CEO, I'd have that same answer. But why is because this is who I am. It's in my DNA to like fix things. It's my DNA to go help people. I have to remind staff all the time that we're an MSP and the middle initial is service. And sometimes people lose track that we're a service company and they let the politics and the company take over. And at the end of the day, the client's paying us to do something for them. And I have to kind of always let people know. And I'm always humbled, like I'm trying to stay grounded. That's what we're there to service company. Like we have all these tools and things. There's cost, and I'm owned by a private equity now, like Nucleus, and their demands are we need to grow, right? But at what extent do we go to our clients and how much are we trying to get from them to get that growth versus the value that we're providing them as well too, right? So that's a challenge for me, and I like challenges. And that's why I still run the professional service team. I'm in cybersecurity, and I recently just took over the procurement team as well too, because I like building process. And when I see departments that aren't running well, I'll go in and clean them up and then hand them over to someone else after.
And I was just curious if there's any like top KPIs or your favorite KPIs that have helped with like team growth or, just company growth in general.
I don't know if we have any KPIs specifically. COVID screwed up everything. Before we had that, we had everyone in the office and we had barbecue almost every single day. And but the KPIs it goes back to making sure that everyone's engaged, enjoying their work. They have meaningful work that they're doing. Just checking in with people. I guess that's I don't have a hard KPI.
I have two, but because we're at a cyber conference, the top one is to have the lowest amount of incidents. Like that's a KPI on the cyber side. But on the other side is to, because we're private equity, I want to have 80% billable rate. So when I lead a team that's non-recurring revenue, my KPI there is 80%, and that's where I target for. Yeah.
That's good. Any other questions before we move to external? Yeah, Randy.
So we talked about burnout. We talked about, how you lead people. What happens when you come up against a highly competent engineer who is toxic to the workplace? Like, how do you handle that as a leader, as an owner or a leader?
You offboard them. That's exactly what I've done. I've had it happen. We had a phenomenal engineer. Phenomenal. He could do anything, but he was a cancer to the company and he had to leave. And it hurt to have him leave, to lose that talent. But again, my job is to protect everyone else in the team. And, we hired someone else and they happen to be just as good and they're really nice. So it works out.
I think people like that in the company don't respect anyone, like within the organization. They think they're top dog and they think they know more than everyone else. And when I've been provided those situations where I had to lead someone like that, and I wasn't given the option to let them go, you have to earn their respect. You got to show them that, you're a person that they can look up to and that they can come to when they have problems. And when you earn that respect, they become less toxic. And problem is that they're less toxic to myself, but I have to teach them how to be less toxic to everyone else as well too. That's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to add a couple of things because Rainey, it's such a great question. I think teachability is a big component in that when I'm deciding through what do we do with that person. If they're coachable and teachable and they just don't realize, maybe it's the stress of like we had something happen recently. Of course, I wouldn't share the details, but someone in our company blew up over something, very minor thing. It caused a lot of drama and issues. And then we went to go look, and I won't explain what, but there was some pretty significant family drama going on at the same time. And I look at that and I'm like, could we define that as being absolutely toxic and absolutely uncalled for? Of course. But we also have a little empathy to understand, whoa, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And we need to probably show a little grace and understanding and say that's uncommon for them. It's not even a 1, 2, 3 strike. It's just an understanding of they're going through a lot right now. And so we kind of dealt with that and much better stage. That's different than someone that is completely uncoachable, has no desire to want to get better. And that's, to me, the dividing line. And we've all had those toxic people, haven't we? And those ones that we finally say, the value of the company is far better. I'd rather have less skill set because I can go teach that back up where I need to from people that are coachable, or better off without you. And all of a sudden you see this culture in the company just skyrocket because we made a hard decision. So to me, that's how I would delineate between the two, is really try to understand where that employee is at. And if we've given the chances and we've coached them through it, to Wayne's point, we're not seeing the growth, then that may be the problem. So it's well said. So let's switch to external. And Bill, I'm going to start with you again, if I may. Let's talk about, how we get our clients to move from resistance to readiness. That's been a big theme, I think, for the past 2 days, really. But what does that look like for network builders? You've had a ton of clients you've been working with for probably decades now. How do you get them to go from what are you talking about, Bill? I've had Symantec forever, AVG, and that was good. Why do I got to do more than that to where they're at today? How do you do it?
So when cybersecurity was coming out and all these new tools were coming out, I mean, we would sell individual tools, but today we sell a solution. We don't sell an AV product per se. We don't line anything out. It's like, we're going to protect you from this. If you want to know the tools we're using, we'll tell you, but this is what we're doing. This is how we make a cake, how we bake a cake. And these are the ingredients that are going to go in it, because that's what's going to protect you and that's what's going to protect us. But, certainly, so that's net new customers, but existing customers or a few years ago when we bring them on, it's education, and it's sitting down and trying to describe the business risk and what can happen if you don't do this and what can happen if you do it. And it just, sometimes you're going to those customers that aren't going to want to do it anyways. And, we've all heard about the form you stick in front of them and it's sign and stuff. But really, my perspective has always been, I need to put the tools in place almost regardless of what the customer says, because I need to protect my business. Like, if something happens, I don't want all the hard work that I put in place to go away. So sometimes we'll just put the tools out anyways and eat it in the margin, because again, we're trying to protect us, but it's just education and guiding them through the process.
Wayne, how about you?
I think I agree with Phil. Like, it's a package. Like, we don't sell it a la carte. Its security is a la carte overall, but we price it out that way. But the hard part was trying to get the price down to a point where SMBs could afford it. Like, we all know that security is expensive. So when I first got dropped into this and looking at all the platforms and everything, it was quite expensive. And after you're able to work with all the vendors and kind of drive the price down a little bit and let them know how many endpoints you're going to be managing, we really get a price that I thought was agreeable to the SMB. And we bundled it together. Even though we had MDR, we still threw in like more on top of it that we felt we needed. And then we went to our clients, existing clients, and said, hey, we got to get rid of WebRoot. It was a good tool at the time. And we need you to have MDR. It's not an option. We are your advisors, and we're telling you that you need this. And they're like, well, how much? And we told them the price, and like, well, that's it. And we're like, well, comparably, it's not actually, because if you were to go out on your own as an individual business, it'd be 3 times more. So that's how I kind of got clients to kind of buy it, because I'm like, I'm just giving you the facts. You can go out and shop yourself. And obviously the vendors aren't going to try and undercut the MSPs. And when they go look, the pricing was just a bit more. So that's how we got, right off the bat, we got almost 95 or high 98% of our clients to sign up with MDR.
Yep.
Just like that. It took like a couple months and we got them to turn over. The last 2% was a little bit hard to kind of push, but eventually they bought in as well too. MDR, I think MFA was the hardest one. When MFA first came out, we were one of the first MSPs. Well, I thought we were one of the first MSPs. It's not an option. You have to have it. And at that point, if they didn't get it, it was okay. But it was like the people in organizations that had assistants that didn't really know IT. They say, well, how long is this MFA thing's going to take me to do? Maybe 30 seconds each time. That's too much of my day. We don't want it. But as we're able to progress with, news and things like that come to the media, we bring it in light to the clients. They're easily sold that we don't want that downtime. And I go, well, MFA is it. And we were able to get clients to sign up for MFA as well too.
Yeah, I love that. Another thing I'll point out too is I think as technical folks, we like to go to the kill shot. We like to go to 0 to 100. We like to force them into the best of the best right now. No questions asked. That's what you need. And that is great. But business owners often think about iteration. They think about 20 percentile, 40 percentile, 60, 80, 100. They are much more willing to slowly build into what good looks like. And one person who's here in the very far back, Andrew, if you don't mind to raise your hand, from Lockstep. Andrew's a good friend of mine, MSP. He's got great stories on that y'all should talk to him about on the boat. He's done a great job of helping a client sort of understand what does it look like to slowly walk them through what good looks like. And yes, I need you to be here one day. I know that you don't have the budget right now to just do it. And sometimes I think that's what we forget about. We go to the client, we're like, I need you to go from, I'm making this up, $100 a seat to $350 a seat right now because you got to have all this stuff. And they're like, what are you talking about? That money does not exist today. But if we come to them, we say, hey, can we build a budget for this? And they say, can next 2 months, can we do just these things right here? And they come back and they say, actually, I can do that. And you didn't just come in and slip out a 3x increase in my cost that I was not prepared for. You gave me some time to get there. And I actually got a couple clients I got to close anyway over here. And I'm pretty sure we're going to close them. That puts the cash flow back in the position where I can do it. We walk them through it. I don't take someone from couch potato to, a 21-mile marathon in a week, right? We work through all these things. So I would also add that. Let's talk about our people. I got a question, Wayne. I'm going to have you lead this first, but then Bill, I want to hear from you too on this is what about our VCIOs, account managers, whoever the role type is that's responsible to talk about security, to communicate it to the client? How do you get them to confidently be capable of this when they are in the same boat of lacking the experience and the imposter syndrome and all these things? How do you kind of work through some of that with your folks?
With our VCIOs, my CTO and I work very closely with them. I think it's all about communication and training. Even though they're not formally going out, get trained with cyber, we have to give them the same experience that we go through. We talk about the incidents that we've seen, what the cost to the client was, and let them know that these are things you need to look out for. And we try and keep them abreast of all the latest threat tactics. They may not be pursuing it themselves. So we have to bring it to their attention. But yeah, that's a tough one because a lot of the staff within an organization that are technical, they just weren't focused on what they want to do. They're given a mandate. This is my job description. This is what I'm going to do. But cyber is everywhere. They're responsibility, right? So that's what we're trying to preach within Nucleus right now. And what we do is lunch and learns. And it's mandatory to have your camera on so we know that you're paying attention. Yes, you can have your camera on, but you're not paying attention, but it helps, right? Because we're a hybrid organization now. We don't actually have everyone come into an office anymore. And so that just makes it that much more difficult to train each staff and get them to buy in cyber. Yeah.
I think it's, internal education, security awareness training to start, but then having lunch and learns, teaching the staff about new techniques that are out there or things that are happening in the news. But I think for like account managers and other people that are customer facing, a lot of it is, we were talking about this the other day, but parroting. Basically, I go out and kind of will do the presentation or talk about what needs to be talked about a few times, and then the account manager or the other people involved will start building off the story that I'm telling, and then it becomes theirs. So I think that that's kind of how they start getting comfortable, because they probably have a lot of imposter syndrome as well.
So I have about 15 minutes. I've got one final question I can ask, but I'd rather turn it over to y'all. So anything's fair game, internal, external. What questions do you have around cybersecurity, getting your folks to understand it, getting your customers to buy into it, to understand the vision? What questions do you have? Yeah, so just to repeat the question for video, other than going to conferences, what are y'all doing to keep yourself up to date, to keep your people up to date, to learn, to grow? What does that look like?
For me, it's a lot of YouTube videos and podcasts. There's a lot of daily cybersecurity podcasts that come out, and listening to those on the drive home or drive to work, and then when you hit something that's interesting, then going into researching it more. Tools is difficult for me at least, unless I go to a conference, because that's usually where I'm getting introduced to them. There's talking to peers and finding out what they're using, but a lot of times it's tools I already know about.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. How about you, Wayne?
I'm in a different situation because I'm part of a large group of NSPs, so I lean on a lot of peers there. And there's one here from Will from DKB, and we're part of a cybersecurity peer group internally that we meet on a regular basis. And we all can't go to all the conferences, but someone's going to go to one. And we talk about it, and we talk about what the experiences are, what they're bringing back to the table. And then if someone evaluates a product, we all talk about it. And then if more than one person does, and we kind of say, is it something we need to pursue? Is it something for the PE to maybe go talk to that vendor and maybe get better pricing for? So I'm lucky that I'm able to sit within a peer group like that. But I feel that if you don't have that network, that there are other peer group networks out there. Robert talked about a bunch of them, and he put it on his slides. And I took a picture of that because even though I have access to one, I'm still going to look at those other ones as well too, because having the opinions of more and more is going to make you that much stronger to be able to make a decision.
Love that.
As an MSP, that in growing stages, you have more into like what you guys were just discussing, but you have individuals that are on your team that maybe don't have that education level that you want them to have, but they're very loyal, they're very good, and they have a lot more capacity to them. You want to elevate them. What do you do for their training, their elevation, what are some maybe methods that maybe you've used to help elevate that team to become a better, stronger, cohesive force?
Well, the first thing you do is get a product called Empath.
I'll pay you later.
But yeah, I mean, just education, having a formal education platform, having HR involved to help build that roadmap for the employees' career paths and stuff like that, I think really helps because we were just talking about this off stage earlier. How do you get employees to participate, and how do you get them to want to stay within the organization? Is giving them a career path, basically. Plan it out, let them know that where you start isn't where you're going to be in the organization in the future. And then let them know that what you aspire to is possible within the organization, and give them that training platform.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. You got to just dig in and mentor these folks. I mean, and we do labs, we do certifications. I mean, like right now we have an N8N and AI contest going in the office, and it has nothing to do with work. I mean, they could literally create something that will flush the toilet for them, is what I told them. I don't care what it does. I just want them to learn, right? And then at the end, we'll have a little vote as to which one's the coolest. But doing something like that to continue their search for knowledge. The challenge that I run into as a leader is I'll put all these things out there, and then like at least 50% of people won't participate. And then it goes to the mentoring again. And it's like, listen, you chose a career, not a job. and to get further ahead in your career, if that's what you want to do, you have to put the effort in, so network builders could do so much to help provide the tools and things, but I can't, not yet, at least I can't insert the information into their head. I'm sure that's coming.
Yeah. I'll add a couple things to that too. Ask your people this question. Well, first of all, let me start here. How many of you offer some kind of incentivized like certification, A+, Net+, some kind of something, Microsoft, AZ900, whatever? Okay, great. Now, hands down, how many of you have struggles with getting your people to actually complete them? Same number of hands. It's always this way, right? So I want to talk to that a little bit. Go ask your people why they're not doing some of those things. And you're going to get back this answer. Boss, I really want to, but I don't have. So you give them time. Okay, so that's right. So that's the next step of maturity is I give you time, and maybe I set it aside Thursday, 4 p.m., whatever, right? When they say I don't have time, what they're really saying back to you is it's not a priority for me, right? So we have to understand every single human being on this earth gets 24 hours in their day, and that's it. So we can load up whatever we want in those 24 hours, but when we say I don't have time, what we're really saying is it wasn't a priority in those 24. Okay, let's accept that. That's a decision that we made. So the next question for us is, especially if we're giving them time, how do we actually free them up to get those expectations across? And here's the challenge. Can I step on your toes again a little bit? I did that yesterday. I'm going to do it again. When we say, I want you to get better, and I want you to grow, and I want you to learn, and I want you to skill up, and I want you to be more capable than ever before, and all these things, and then in the same breath we say, oh, by the way, I need you to get these 16 tickets done before lunch, they're always going to pick a ticket. Always. Because that's how they're accountable. That's how we measure them. That's how they add value to the company. So you know what I would do? I would not step out of the system. I would leverage the system. I would build learning and growth as a ticketed process in your MSP. You've already taught them how that works. And now you have the ability to hold them accountable to that. The same way you hold them accountable to the ticket that you assigned them to get done for whatever it is that they need to get done. That's how I would do it. And now, instead of barking at them saying, why did you not get better? Why are you not spending time? I care about you, all this stuff. Now I actually have a bite to it because I say, hey, I've noticed that you're not doing this. Tell me what you were doing with that 1 hour I gave you. I'm trying to understand. We're just doomed scrolling on TikTok. I freed you up. I unplugged you from the call tree. I gave you the ticket to learn. Now I have I can have, to Wayne's point, an accountability discussion with them. And I love that. So that's where I would really focus it on. And you'll find it works. What else do we got? Yeah.
I was going to say that you guys have a dis-tier marketplace, right? Where you buy Microsoft license, and we're all Microsoft partners. And it's not gold, silver, bronze anymore. It's badges now that they give you, right? So Modern Workplace, Azure Infrastructure, and they have an AI one. What Microsoft doesn't publish is that, yes, you get kickback if you have certain badging, but there's combination of badges that you get that even provide even more kickback, right? So my push for my CEO is we want that kickback. And how do I get it? You need to be certified. Some of these certifications aren't easy to get, and they have to be maintained. It's not like AZ900, you get it and it lasts forever. AZ700, AZ104, you get it, and then every year you have to re-exam for it again. And where do you get the motivation for the staff to do that, right? So the incentives is a good way to do it. I'm motivated because I need to reach certain KPIs. I want to bring in money for the organization. So I have to work with the staff, give them time. My billable rate, I go to my staff. I go, yeah, you're professionals. You're professional services. And when you go on site and you're doing something, you want to do it as efficiently as possible. You want to be skilled for it. And I give them the example all the time. Like if you hire a plumber and he comes to your house and you're paying this plumber $200 an hour and he's working on your sink, but then you catch him looking on YouTube how to do something, you're going to go, well, what gives? I hired you at $200 an hour to fix my plumbing and you're not trained in what you're doing. You have to watch a YouTube video. I want my guys not to do that because sometimes they're stretched to the point where they're learning as they're doing a project, but now we're charging the client the full rate. And I'm like, how's that right? Because they expect us to be efficient. So I give that as an example to my staff saying, hey, we just need to be that professional level. And I'll pay you a professional salary if you can become that professional.
Yeah, that's good. Good time for maybe one more question.
What would be the most important Microsoft certifications that you look for your level 1 techs and then your level 3 techs?
It's funny you asked that because I was just working with HR a while back, and to me, all the 900s, SC, MS, and AZ 900, all three of them. And those are like so high level that every tech in your organization should have them. That's how I feel. And I added it to everyone's their learning role. Like within Empath, they have all of those courses already as well too. So with HR, I work together to build a career path, and we added that as a mandate. If you're going to be a tier 1 tech, you have to have the 900s.
I would have to refer to my COO, who's not here.
That's why I brought Wayne along. Fantastic. So how about let's end on this. How many of you have from the past couple days one big takeaway from this time? At least one big takeaway. All right. How many at least two big takeaways? Fantastic. How many at least three big takeaways? Okay. Maybe a little less, but still good. Perfect. So what I would encourage you to do is don't let that live and die with you. So what I would encourage you to do for the entire MSP is say, let's take some of those takeaways and let's share them. Let's disseminate them back to the rest of our team. So whether that's a lunch and learn, that's a little spot in your EOS, whatever it is, how you do those things, make sure that you communicate this back to your team. Some of those takeaways, those lessons learned, because I think that's one of the best things. The worst thing we can do is we learn a lot. We go home, we start crushing work, and we've forgotten everything that we've learned and nothing comes out of it. Right. So make sure you jot those down, be ready for them on the flight home, maybe even on the boat tonight. Ask your peers, hey, what was your big takeaway? What did you get out of this? What are you changing? What do you want to work on? Such a good way for you to kind of think through and turn this into action. So it is 4:30, Haley, and I think we are about ready. I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you. Wayne, thank you. Bill, thank you.